Round of applause. So I want to get this panel started, and I asked these women backstage, just to get these vibes up, positive vibes. Yes, click those cameras, get pictures. What is the song?
Because y'all are all a black,
A lot of black people out there.
I can't see nobody.
Beautiful crowd. What is the song that is giving you life right now?
Want to start from the
Shannon.
Procedure by Glorilla.
Glorilla fans, where you at?
What's the procedure when a bad bitch walks into the room?
Amira, what you got?
I gotta jump in and say Lemon Pepper by JT and Stunna Girl.
Ooh,
Aye,
that's a good
yes. Yes. Gabrielle?
You asked me this, and I didn't think about my answer, but I am, if y'all know me, old school, so I'm always in a J mood, so I'm going Most Kings. People look at you strange, saying you changed, like you worked this hard to stay the same. So I'm in Most Kings right now.
Love it. Whitney, what you got?
Kill for Your Love by Labyrinth. Anything very passionate, exciting, that's what I'll go for.
Love it. As for me, I was asked what my walk-up music is, and it's always Jadakiss, We Gon' Make It, so I think it's a vibe, so that's me. So, amazing title of this panel is If Mad Men Were Black Women. So I'm gonna kick it off. Mad Men finished filming, 10, 15 years ago. And I wanna know, what did you take away from Mad Men? Do you even wanna be a Mad Men? Like, Shannon?
I want to be Dawn.
Tell me more.
Well, Dawn, if you know Mad Men, Dawn was the secretary, and there were two black women there, and one of the most famous scenes was them calling each other by each other's name. And also, what's the sister who plays her is absolutely gorgeous. But I've always been Dawn. So even like the title of this, I was like, I don't know if I like the title of this that much. But yeah, Dawn has the spirit that I have, more so than anything. Kind of like, what am I doing here? All right, fine, I'm here. And yeah, Don Draper, I'm just as talented. I'm not an alcoholic, though.
Word. Anything you want to add, Gabrielle?
It was almost like when apparently like football players don't watch the NFL. It was kind of creepy to watch Mad Men because it was just way too close to home. I guess the juxtaposition in this world is you can either be like a madman or an angry black woman. So somewhere in between, I definitely didn't want to work there. I wanted to own the building. So I don't know. That's maybe where I am at now.
Whitney.
I tried, I couldn't stomach it. Not even past the first 2 episodes, I couldn't do it.
I'm kind of in the same position. I tried to get through the first season because someone told me it was like advertising homework, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to complete this assignment. And I absolutely did not. But I'd say if I was supposed to step into that space, the only thing I would want to do is have the power to change it.
Yeah. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I personally am very sensitive to watching anything that isn't equal in terms of gender roles, so that's exactly why I couldn't stomach the first few episodes, because it's just stupidity after a certain point, yeah, so that's my answer, yeah.
Right, and what we see, and a lot of what we see in not just in the advertising agency around corporate America, is the ability to fail up for certain individuals and the privilege that Don had in that space to just do whatever he want and be reckless and rise to the top. So my next question would be around, in your respective roles, you're leading humongous teams and you're enacting change. What are you taking away from Mad Men itself and doing the opposite? How are you doing that? Gabrielle.
Oh, man. Okay. Mad Men, the show or the actual industry? Because I used to work at all the Mad Men places.
The actual industry.
Okay, got it. My director of strategy hit me the other day after a big pitch. We were all very stressed, and she said, kitchen table is the safest place I've ever been as a creative. And I was like, well, that's what I'm doing differently. And I was even talking to a couple of folks in the industry, and I was like, you name an agency the folks that work for those agencies have come to Kitchen Table and what we're building, and the interviews almost turn into therapy. I have to be like, all right, y'all, get back on track. Let's stop crying. And so it's interesting to create space that maybe didn't exist before, to allow creatives who are, quite frankly, the best in the business and come from the biggest and baddest shops in the game, and they come here and they feel safe, they feel seen, and not like in a bring your full self to work kind of way, but like bring your best self to work. And it's inspiring. I mean, we had an incredible call the other day where our client, who's a Black woman, she took a pause after we shared the creative. And in instance, we all turned into tears. And she's one of the baddest in the game, and she just cried about the work we presented and just completely complimented the creative team. And I was able to sit back and feel so proud of how this client validated our team in a way that doesn't happen on the day-to-day. Most clients you present and they're like, great, thanks, we'll regroup and come back to you next week with some thoughts. And we're like, God, I just poured my whole heart into that. That's the story of my mother I just put in your ad. And so anyway, we're creating space where we're not just validating the people at the table, but our clients are validating the people at our table. We're able to put the work in the world that will actually move it in a way that's not just selling sneakers, but it's selling, you know, something so much bigger than that. So anyway, that's what I'm doing a lot differently, I hope, than the Mad Men is creating safe space.
Love that. Shannon.
I'm so fucking proud of you.
I love you.
I'm sorry. Gabrielle and I have known each other for a long time. We were both agency girls, and it's been a real ride to see you do it. It's interesting that you asked that because it's kind of why I came to Gotham, or I returned to Gotham. Actually, Gotham was one of my first jobs when I was a baby creative director. I had no business being a CD, but that's a whole other conversation. You know, I had just come from, I was a US CCO at RGA, you know, multi-million-dollar corporation, agency, you know, offices all around the country. And I remember thinking I wanted to do something small because I did something at RGA that I was on the cusp of doing, around leadership, that I felt like I was just on the cusp of doing. And something that I like to say to people is you have to continuously contribute to your own case study. But the great thing about that is you get to design your case study. And for me, it was, how could I create that safe space within my organization? Because I saw doing that during the pandemic, all of the success that we had in the pandemic. I directly attribute to that. But what I was also starting to see that I'm also, you know, that I'm seeing now within McCann World Group and Gotham is, how do you manage that up to really get into the nuts and bolts of a networked organization? How do you redefine collaboration through the lens of a safe space? There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of Game of Thrones. I am delusional. And I believe that I'm like, fuck it, you know, I'm only gonna be here one time. And so for me, when I think about Mad Men and where it was, I already know that I bring something different just off of the basis of who I am. But I have been a living case study that I can make money differently, I can operate differently, I can execute differently. And there are others like me who are doing it, and I see what Gabrielle and Che are doing. I see, you know, what Andre and Walt and Khalida and everybody else, Joe, are doing. And for me, I'm like, how can I infiltrate, just for lack of better words, a bit of the old guard, because they want that, but they need someone to, you know, bring them there, and it's been fun.
I love that.
No, I was going to mention, I know for us at Uniworld, it's super important for me that the team is very uncommon and they feel very much so like individuals. I know for myself, I do not have a traditional advertising background. I go wherever my heart pushes me, and luckily, I've had places where I've been accepted and I do feel safe and I feel like I can contribute, but I know for myself with the team that we have, it's saying, how do I give you space to do what you want to do? Yeah. Because I know you are born for something outside of what my limitations are, and how do I create space for you to be able to run and not ask you, I think Shannon mentioned earlier, I don't need to micromanage you. If you're born with a purpose for something, I just need to create space for you to run and support you. So I think that when we're looking at Mad Men, it's saying, not everyone in the room looks alike. I don't want everyone in the room to look alike. I don't want them to have the same perspectives. I want you to have a queer perspective. I want you to have a first generation perspective. I want you to have all of those things, because we know the more that people have perspective, the better the work is. the better the world is, the better we all feel seen. So I know that's important for me at Uniworld, and making sure that the uncommon people have a safe space so they could be in and that they can contribute something different.
Now, Amira, as an up-and-comer and future Chief Creative Officer, putting that in the universe,
Take my job.
I want to know about your experience, in the workplace, where you're at, and how are you seeing change being impacted?
I'd say where I am right now, obviously, I don't necessarily have the level and status to impact the change in large-scale ways, but I do in small ways, and I always try and lean into that as best as I can. But I feel like I'm in an environment where people are really encouraging me to bring my full self to work, and I think in some ways that's an act of protest in itself, because I'm in a space that wasn't necessarily designed for me. And now I've broken in, I'm here, and I want to be as present as I can be. But I'm really grateful for the leaders that I've had who have allowed me to do that, and also for the sponsors and mentors that I've found along the way that have seen something in me. Because I think there's nothing as powerful and touching as when someone sees something in you. Because sometimes you show up in these spaces and you're supposed to be there, but there's a part of you that's kind of like, am I though? And so when those people find you, it just makes the environment so much better, so much comfortable, and allows you to do better work.
Absolutely. Now, you just jumped into the advertising agency. I want to know how each of you, because I think it's important that everybody here understands, and I'm sure you've heard this, that not everybody comes from the traditional path into this world that we're in. So I definitely want to hear how you got into it, Whitney.
I'm still trying to figure that out. So my background is fully in fashion, and I moved to Chicago, and it forced me, which I'm great at, just pushing myself in a new environment, and it forced me to use different tools that I already have in terms of being a creative person. I have my own brand. I'm already a creative in terms of creative directing and telling those stories, but I remember someone reached out from Vayner, and I did a stint there, and I was like, wait, you get paid for this? And right after I landed at Spike DDB, and that started me really having a home in advertising, and then Uniworld grabbed me, and I'm here now. I'm sticking here now.
Shannon?
Oh, I was sorry. Okay, so it's a very long story, don't worry about it. It's a very, very long story, which I will try to condense. I moved to New York wanting to be a designer. I graduated from Howard University. I went into Howard Medical School, came out with a BFA, and my mom was like, you gotta make some money, you can't move back in. So I was like, I could be a designer because I like design. But I was a designer's designer, and I wanted to work for Rizzoli. But they weren't hiring. They never hire. I didn't realize that. So I got into entertainment. All of my friends are writers, are working in the music industry, young when Brooklyn was affordable. And I was designing a lot of album covers, at clients like Dead Prez, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, Kanye. And so I was freelancing for a lot of labels. And then I went into publishing. But entertainment was always my go-to just because of my background, shooting, designing. I knew a lot of promoters who ended up becoming entertainment executives. It's a very Howard story if you think about it. But that crossed me into Carol H. Williams in Oakland, because that's where I was living at the time. And I had an interest in beauty, and they were like, you're a woman, you could work on a beauty account. And I wanted to work on cars and beer, but they were like, no, you're a girl, you can go on Pantene. But I killed it, but it opened up a whole new world for me. But what was most important for me, I got to work with Carol H. Williams. And I didn't know what advertising was. So my first agency was a de facto black agency. My first CCO was a black woman. And so when I became a CCO, and I believe I'm the first black CCO of a holding company.
Yeah, yes, she is. She's being mad humble right now.
And but what was so interesting about that, I did an interview about that, and I got really emotional. I said, I'm not the first. I'm just the first to do it in this space, because I grew up with the first. So that was kind of the sidestep. Carol H. Williams prepared me for a long road of leaving and coming back into the industry. I've worked as a producer. I'm a fake strategist. You know, I went from a designer to an art director. I am a writer. You know, I found my voice writing when I was at Droga. So it has not been a linear line. It's definitely been one of these. I've left this industry 3 times and always come back to it. But you'd be surprised, like, the connection between entertainment and advertising. A lot of people who worked in entertainment and went into advertising is very, very a large community.
Gabrielle?
Let me see how quick I can make it. I am one of the privileged people who had a more traditional path, I'd say. I've been an ad person forever. I knew I wanted to be in advertising since I was 9. Very crazy. My mother has the piece of paper to test to it. And then I was over a friend's house one day, and her dad was working in this program called Photoshop, and I was like, I want that. So I got it and didn't know what to do with it and taught myself. And then I was making party flyers and album covers for Philly rappers. I did a website for Meek Mill before he was who he was. And I would be like drug dealer style, like pulling up on the corners of Philly with like my floppy disk and CD to be like, here you go, can I get $25 for that? The glow up started for real. And then I got the opportunity to go sit in at a pitch process at an agency called Lev Lane. If there's anyone in Philly here, y'all know. Okay, that was like the Ogilvy of Philly. Sat in Lev Lane offices as like a freshman in college and fell in love with the Sunoco pitch, gas station advertising, so sexy. And I said, I have to be here. Hey, Shelly, how do I get an internship here? She said, sorry, only seniors and maybe juniors. You're only a freshman. I said, you'll never be able to tell. Give me a chance to take a look at my work. They gave me a chance. Freshman year, I ended up getting hired full-time my sophomore year in college. So I was the youngest person to ever work full-time at the agency, and it was dope because I would be literally going to Temple, and on the subway on SEPTA would be the work that I was able to produce. And so someone asked me yesterday for some advice. I said, be the most annoying person in the world. I would be like, let me in this meeting. Oh, you don't need any ideas? Here's some ideas. What if you did this? So anyway, I ended up going from intern to ACD at that agency across 7-8 years, and then got an email from Spike at Spike DDV. Moved to Brooklyn in a matter of weeks. Worked on a handful of accounts. If you name it, I've had the privilege of touching it. From there to 72 to McCann, and then ultimately, I love to say I never ran from it. I ran towards something, and I heard this quote that said, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And I was around 2020, and I am a horrible protester. I cannot change the law. I'm not a lobbyist. I have no desire to do that, but I make really great ads. And so I realized that my role is to change the world through advertising. So I started Kitchen Table, which focuses exclusively on brands that are founded by people of color. So we've got some incredible clients like Issa Rae, Bevel's in the house, and I'm trying to make a lot of black and brown billionaires and change the world that way. It'll take some time, but yeah, that's very quickly from a 9-year-old in Philly to where I am on the stage today with y'all.
I love that. Amazing. Amira, give us a little rundown of your career.
So I have been in advertising officially for about 2.5 years now.
We love early careers.
But I also started out as just being like a very creative child, and both of my parents are creatives in their own rights. Like my dad has driven a truck for most of his life, but he's really a singer-songwriter, and I'm very serious. He's very good. And my mom owns her own business as a leather crafter, which she's been doing for like 40 plus years. So they really created a space for me to be creative and be okay with me being creative. Because when I decided to go to also Howard, got a BFA at Howard, but when I made that decision, so many people looked at my parents like, Howard, question mark, art, question mark, and they didn't bat an eyelash. And that gave me the power to step into it and go for it. But I still didn't really know about advertising. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a graphic designer. Let's see where this goes. And I graduated and I didn't know where I was gonna go. But then through mutual friends, I ended up landing in kind of publishing a little bit. USA Today, I was doing magazines, layouts, things like that. And then my time there just kind of came to a natural close and I transitioned into marketing. And then my time there was coming to a natural close again, sometime in like 2021-ish. And actually one of my coworkers sent me this program called The One School. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but if there's a merit-based program, I'm gonna sign up, I'm gonna take an application, I'm gonna fill it out, and they're gonna see me. And I was fortunate enough to be accepted, and that was the second year they were doing the program. If you're not familiar with the One School, it is an online portfolio program created for Black creatives to get into the advertising industry. So that was kind of my segue into this world, and I've loved it ever since.
It's free, and you
We
can
like
be at
free.
any level, and I teach at it. So.
Same. We'll see you there.
So, as we're ascending in our careers, I think each of us have a superpower that helps us, achieve whatever goal, break new grounds, break barriers, disrupt systemic barriers. So, I want to hear from each of you, what is your superpower when you step into that room? Gabrielle.
Me? Yeah, okay. I love Marvel movies. My superpower is that I was raised by a superwoman. My mother is incredible. My father was murdered as a child, and so she raised my brother and I, a single Black woman, put herself through Ivy League school while I was still there, and she actually started her business at our dining room table. So, hence the name kitchen table. I would literally come home from school some days and there would be like these little old ladies working at my dining room table and excuse me. And so my mother ended up creating a business that changed the lives of thousands and thousands of children across the East Coast. And so my superpower is that I was raised by her, and so I grew up believing anything was possible, which is crazy. So yeah, I think that's my privilege, is I believe anything's possible. You can't never tell yourself no. Position yourself so you have choices. These are all the words of my mother, not me. And so I carry her with me every day that I'm at work, and now she's actually my CFO. So that is absolutely my superpower, easy.
Love it. Go ahead, Shannon.
I've said this earlier, but my superpower is 100% delusion. That is the best way that I can describe it. No, and I'm super serious. Black women, I feel like globally, one of the things that, we grow up extremely over-codified. Not coddled, just to be clear, codified. Meaning, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Twice as hard, 3 times as hard. You gotta support the family. You gotta and I didn't come from much, but I knew I had to be better. I was raised by someone, who told me I had to be better. But one thing that my mother did, she was really determined to live life on her own terms within so many different tight apertures of the Army, tight apertures of, being a single Black woman in the late 70s, early 80s, when I first, became cognizant of what she was doing. Being at the time, she wasn't out, but a gay Black woman, in that space too. And so when you're seeing all these things as a kid, when everything is overly regimented around you, but you also see these slices of life, you kind of grow up in between two worlds. And when I finally start to hit my stride in this, the one thing that I realized was the key superpower with everyone that I was going up against, everyone that I was pitching against, everyone that was even asking me for money when I became a director. When you talk to someone and you're like, where'd you get the nerve? I needed the nerve. You know what I mean? I was why do you have access to that? I should have the permission. I don't need permission now, but I had to give myself permission to be fucking delusional. And that is one of those things that it is a blessing when I started to really, really accept it. I do believe I can do anything. I believe that people who work for me can do anything. I came back to Gotham. Gotham is the global AOR for Maybelline, New York. Someone was like, hey, Shannon, you want to go from running this big organization to this little organization and then remake that for a global organization? Yeah, I can do that. I don't know if I could do it, but I'm gonna do it though. You have to have a sense of delusion about yourself in this industry specifically, I believe, in order to make it, because you have a lot of it fake around you, but when you sincerely give yourself a safe enough space to say, I'm delusional enough to fail, and I'm gonna fail brilliantly, I'm gonna do a nice dip to the floor, but I'm gonna get myself up and I'm gonna hit that ball again. It's a great space to be in. Yeah.
Amazing. Whitney.
I would say my gut, it hasn't failed me once. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna do something. I don't know where the thought comes from, but I honor it. I don't ask any questions. I think I was telling a coworker last week, I was like, my life is a testimony. Like, a lot of things happen. I don't even know why it happens or how it happens. Sometimes I've gotten phone calls from people that I admire, people like Spike Lee or Beth Ann Hardison, and I'm like, did I just make that happen? How the fuck did I just make that happen? I don't. So I think that, yeah, it's my gut. If my gut tells me that I'm supposed to be somewhere else doing something, I'm like, okay, cool, I guess we're packing to do something. But that's always anchored me. I know I just live a life full of purpose, and I know that I want to do something that's impactful and honest and true. So I follow my gut, and wherever it takes me. That's why I said earlier, me landing here is a miracle within itself. And I'm grateful to be on the stage with these women and in a room with you all, but my gut got me here. So I think that's my superpower.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So talking about superpowers and being in these predominantly white spaces, I want to know from each of you, what is so intrinsic about being a Black woman as a lead and as someone who's going to be a lead in your agency? What do you bring to the table that is so different and so powerful?
Well, I'll
Whitney, go for it.
I'll say I lucked out by not being in white spaces where I work. So I think that that's an easy answer. How do we create spaces where everyone is different? I don't want that problem. I remember we came from an event a few weeks ago, and I told Monique, our chair, I was like, I don't want to fit in. I don't want to be a part of this, whatever this is. I want us to feel like we are a group of people who are the other, just an agency of the others. So yeah, I'm grateful to not feel like, and even if I am in those spaces, I try not to acknowledge it. I think I was telling you earlier, being up in the Catskills, I'm like, there's Confederate flags and Trump signs everywhere. But I've decided I'm gonna live my life the way I'm gonna live it, and respectfully, screw it.
No apologies.
Yeah, with no apologies, yeah.
Lea, can you repeat it just one more time?
What is so intrinsic about being a Black woman in these creative spaces
Oh.
as a lead?
I think no matter where you're from, because Black is not a monolith, Black womanhood is absolutely not a monolith. No matter where you are from in the diaspora, Black women, you occupy this very unique position of what I like to call, it's almost like, CEO and assistant at the same time, depending on the spaces that you're in.
That part. And
so, it's interesting because I think about this from a cultural perspective. My family is mostly Black American. I'm like an eighth Caribbean, but I don't claim it. But who was married, to someone from the Caribbean diaspora, Black American diaspora, and I would talk to his family. I'm very close with my former mother-in-law, and we would talk about the things that we shared. And there is this consistent theme of, it's not invisibility, it's seen when we need to be seen. And I realized that in the spaces that I'm in, we're able to look at the world not exclusively differently, because I don't want to take that away from other BIPOC women as well, but we see things, we are considering variables I find that generally no one else is considering. We are seeing, whether the emotional impact of something, the consumer impact of something, the familial impact of something through a lens of care, but also value. And a lot of it, I think, just has to do with our place globally in society. Like I said, sometimes we're hyper-visible and we don't want to be, but most of the times we're invisible. And so in that invisible space, a lot of people say things around you, they do things around you, but you're not there, so they think you're not listening, but we're listening. Like we have run countries, that we've never been acknowledged for. We have run full corporations that we've never been acknowledged for. And so being vocal in the room is interesting because now I'm able to say what I want to say, But I do come at it, I think we come at it from a completely different space. You don't know how many times I've said the most basic thing. And someone's like, I never thought about that. And I'm like, because you've never had to. You know what I mean? And so that's why I love to see Amira, especially in those spaces. And I'm thinking about Sage and Asia and like all these other young women that I've worked with in the past that have said, I'm going to come at it from a completely different space. And it's like, that is actually what is needed in the room, because we occupy a lane, honestly, that is so brilliantly, but also sadly exclusive.
I mean, to be a Black woman is a very powerful thing. And as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. And I would say that what is intrinsic or ingrained in me and the women on this stage is we are not working for ourselves. And we have this responsibility. Sometimes I feel so responsible for the people I work with. I'm like part CEO, part mother, part intern, part everything. Janitor, HR, all the things. And so we have this responsibility to, what we bring to the table is, well, one, we built the table, but also we bring more seats to the table. And we are never like the first to sit down. We make sure that everybody's eaten first. If you eaten, do you want seconds? You come back for more. We, at kitchen table, we say when we all have a seat, we all eat. And that's the absolute mission of what we do. And so I think that is not because I am an advertiser. I think it's because I'm a Black woman, and because I hold that in the work that I do and the people I hire. Sometimes I feel like our agency is like Grey's Anatomy episode, where we're like, it's a teaching hospital.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, not that bad. Sorry, yeah. I didn't mean to scare you guys. We're hiring. Come through. In the fact that it's a teaching hospital, where we were talking about this earlier. Like, you have to be here for 10 years before you step on set. I put our junior in the middle of a pitch the other day, in person, by the way, and she did phenomenal. And so anyway, I say to be a Black woman comes with the power and responsibility of that to lift up, to reach back, and to make sure the table is big enough, to make sure there's not just one table, and that, we all eat.
Go for it, Amira.
I agree with everything everyone has said thus far, but I also wanted to add in that I think Black women are special because we have this innate sense of creativity, style, fashion, the way we carry ourselves, the way we speak, the things we say, the way we phrase things, that is so naturally creative. And there's a space for us in this industry, even though some people might look and think, oh, I don't get it, I don't see it. But what we are is creative in everything that we do, the way we style our hair. And so that is what we bring to this table. That's what we bring to this industry. It's that special sauce that's within us that we can't help but exude.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to something that Gabby said earlier, that you're in the business of making brown and Black billionaires, and I love that. And the term Black excellence. And we've heard it, we've seen it on social media, we've seen it play out, people, hashtag everything. But in some ways, it can be problematic. How are you redefining that term, Black excellence, on your own terms, and what that means to you, and how you make a sustainable and lasting impact?
Okay, I like that question. For me, I'm trying to turn back Black excellence into Black equity. As Beyonce says, pay me in equity. I think the conversation needs to be elevated as opposed to just listen to Black women in the room. It's like, no, give them the keys, give them the deed to the house that the room is in. And so I'm trying to elevate the conversation to a level of ownership and equity, and that is when we can get to a point of excellence, in true excellence. Because, it's not just about representation. Diversity is not a casting decision. It is about truly giving up your seat. People don't like to give up their seat, but no one wants to be that guy on the bus who just lets all the other people stand there. And so for me, when Black excellence becomes Black equity, then we're winning. And that's what I'm striving for by focusing on the brands that we build here. And then also, above kitchen table, we launched at Cannes as Heirloom, which is one of the new Black and woman-owned holding companies in the advertising industry. And so, again, trying to turn Black excellence into Black equity so that we can truly change the world. And I say all the time when people work with us, it's like, my team is not just Black. Well, we got everybody there, but they're not just Black, they're brilliant. and they are the best. And you can't just be, one thing. You have to be great. And so I get really excited about the transition from Black excellence to Black equity.
I got excited hearing you. I was like, sorry.
Whitney, you want to chime in?
I know for me, when I think of Black excellence, I think of living my ancestors' wildest dreams and creating spaces for others to do the same. What I see on TV tells me what I can be, and I know that through advertising we have something so powerful that we can do. We can teach people that they could be powerful engineers and that they could be presidents, and that they could advocate for themselves, and that they can be a global CCO with what we're doing. So I think that for myself, when it comes to doing something different, and even looking at my parents' eyes who are from Haiti and came here in the 80s, doing things right now that they look at and they're like, I'm very proud of what you're doing. For me, it's just important to create more space for people to be able to do that, because I know that that's what's going to change tomorrow.
Love it. Amira.
I try to own Black excellence by looking at it in its simplest sense. It's being Black and it's being excellent. And that can look like so many different things. Yeah. And I think sometimes we get caught up on thinking that Black excellence means achieving a certain high goal or being wealthy or having status. But I think if we put it to that, then people who are Black will feel like they can't achieve Black excellence potentially. And I don't want that for anyone.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yes.
Are you a writer? Are you a writer? Love her.
Me.
You want to come work with
We
her?
love
Oh,
Amira.
sorry, stealing her.
Dropping nuggets.
BML,
Keep it.
y'all better watch out for me because
Shannon and I
No
are coming for her.
poaching. Yeah. No
y'all
poaching.
know me. Y'all know me. Y'all know
No poaching
me.
alert.
She got my number. When you asked us this question on the, were you done?
No, I'm good.
You asked us this question on the prep call, and I thought about it a lot over the weekend because it's a heavy question, and I did what I normally do, which is I do something, I step outside of myself, I examine myself, and then I go back. Hence, you don't write the bad email, you look at it, then you reread it. I do that with almost everything. When I think about Black excellence, the first thing that I had to do was to not equate it through a capitalistic lens or through a lens of struggle. I don't like to define Black excellence, not with equity. I'm not talking about that, but the idea of perceived wealth or perceived, success. And I say that with air quotes because what you want to make sure is that you're not just doing the Black version of white supremacy in your organization.
A word.
And so, you can't replicate my good sis who's at VML. Khalida McDade says, the only way you can upend a system is a new system. You can't just replicate the old system. And so that's why, the term, I've always been very uncomfortable with that term, if I'm being honest. But then I thought about it, when have I been excellent, when, the threads that I'm hearing on this stage. I can't necessarily define it for you, but I can tell you, I believe authentic Black excellence is in a space of safety and vulnerability and dreaming. We see examples of Black excellence, but oftentimes it comes out of struggle. Yes, we are good in struggle. Kudos, give us our flowers. But when we are coming out of a space of rest, when we are coming out of a space of safety, of exchange, the things that come out of that, when we give ourselves permission to dream, I believe that is where I don't know what Black excellence is, but I believe that's where it resides. That's where it's cradled the most, when people just have the ability to just be and say, you know what if? And I want that for everyone on this stage. Yeah.
I think also doing what we can do I love that, to ensure that Black excellence doesn't become like Black exclusion, and it's not just the
thank
few.
you.
Dudes.
Right. I love what you said about the space to just be. And we talk especially about in my work and with my team who's here about that psychological safety and how important it is and how we create those spaces no matter where you are in that agency. And, as we're wrapping this up, When you think about when you leave this world of advertising agency and you are retired, living your best life, resting, how do you want to leave? I think that's, yeah. How do you want to leave? I had more words, but then I was like, nah, that's it. Copywriter.
I would say from a personal level, everyone who I work with, I want them to feel liberated. I want them to go through this working through Uniworld and feeling like, I feel like a different person. I feel like I'm more powerful. I think that's the hardest thing sometimes in working with different people is not them seeing their own power. And I think that that's my job is to create space for people to be able to see their own power. So my answer is that love liberates, and that's what I'm hoping people see when my time is done and wrapped here.
Amira.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to make sure I leave on my own terms whenever that happens. But I will say the legacy that I kind of want to leave behind is bringing in as many people as I can. And right now where I'm at, I don't necessarily have the power to pull people in necessarily, but I'm in the building, so even if I can't pop open the door, I'm opening the windows, I'm scooting over the blind so people can see what there is out there, see this career path, and see that they can step into it as well. And if I see you and you want to be in it, I'm going to do everything I can to help you and bring you to the door, then get my boss to open it for you, you know?
Right. Gabrielle?
I love you. You're amazing. What I love about Shannon on the stage and what I've seen when other young black girls look at you is that they see a hero, and I know, don't get mad at me. They see black icons and black heroes in this space, and there are not enough of us. And so while I don't necessarily want to be one of the greats, I want to help create some of the greats because we need more of us so that more can come to us. And so for me, what I love is, I was working with my ACD, who was my mentee at McCann, and now she's full-time at Kitchen Table and Heirloom, and I was like, beat this line. And we were on a plane on the way to a pitch, and she beat this manifesto that I wrote. I said, you did so much better than me, girl. What? I don't even know how she came up with it. And it was one of the best feelings when you can hire giants and when you can create greats. So when I ever leave, because I still love it, y'all. I want to leave with me or behind me a handful of greats that other people continue to look up for. So that's my goal.
That's a hard question. What Gabrielle said. I had the great honor to attend a roast last week of Susan Cradle. And I saw, other than the roast part, which was, we need more black people to roast people. That's all I gotta say. But the amount of people who talked about her and thanked her for things other than her work. I think about what my friend Alejandro Claiborne said at Black Impact Day at IPG, and he was like, I want to be that person that someone thanks when they're accepting their Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't know what that is, but I want to be that. My goal is to be the fly black lady at the club.
I hear that.
That's old, and you're like wondering but she owns the club, but no one knows that. But I say that because, I don't know when I'm going to leave. I don't think I will. I see Susan and Cindy and a few other women as like these elder stateswomen that are still doing what they need to do, and we do it through the work, but we do it through the people. So I want the people. I want the Amiras. I want the Ashleys. I think you're out here. I want, she's a GCD I hired at RGA. Like, I said this on stage one day. I was like, I want a crew of fly black women with matching jackets. And we got theme music when we walk in the room. Like, I want an army. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So everybody's going to get their matching jackets so we can be on Shannon's team, be a part of that crew. Well,
we're hiring ACD copywriter. Thanks. I had to say it.
Poaching alert. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking this time, taking the stage, and sharing your wisdom, your passion.
Thank you.
Your love. I think, this amazing opportunity for me, and I just want to thank you for your time. And everyone, please give a shout out for Whitney, Amira, Gabrielle, and Shannon.
And shout out to Blackweek, Walter, Andre, Joe, Gabrielle. Gabrielle's one of the co-founders of Blackweek, y'all.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's a great space.
Thank you.